If I were to hit you over the head with a sledgehammer, would that be more or less brutal than telling you that the next phase of Star Wars films will star Brie Larson? I feel like the sledgehammer is going to be more warranted.
I'm about to say
more
you're
desired.
you're a very deep man, Chad, because that question is not an easy one.
Oh, it's actually a very easy one. Sledgehammer, please.
Let's see. Let's weigh this. Blunt force trauma or Brie Larson's drama?
I look at it very simply, Marcus. Both of these are going to kill us. But one has the opportunity of killing us instantly, while the other one is Brie Larson over the course of 9 years. So, sledgehammer, please. So, this is a rumor that's coming from a bunch of various websites. Just Google it, you'll find it. But the basic gist was, why isn't Captain Marvel 2 in the next phase of the Marvel films? And we all thought it's because Marvel's sick of Brie Larson. And that's what we hoped. Oh, Marcus, I remember for about a good glorious 17 hours, I was like, Marvel's down Brie Larson, woo! No. Oh, it's so much worse. It's so much worse. So, we go from Star Wars having the most Mary Sue being Rey, played by the wonderful Ridley. I was about to call her Ridley Scott. That's not right. Oh, what is her name? It's Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley. That's what it is. I knew Ridley was in her name. It's not Ridley Scott though. Daisy Ridley's phenomenal. She's so likable. She's like the chick that plays Daenerys Targaryen. Like, whenever you see her outside of an acting role, she seems very likable, very, very engaging. Like, oh, yes, I could hang out with that chick. But then you see Daisy Ridley in her roles, Rey, and it's like, oh, your character's awful. And your directors are awful. Because they're giving you nothing to work with. Like, you had one good scene. It was the end of Force Awakens, and you're sitting there with puppy dog face, handing the lightsaber to Luke, as Luke just stares at you like a disappointed grandfather. You only got 3 B's and 1 A? I guess your trip to Dagobah's canceled. Like, alright, Grandpa Luke, calm down. But now we go from her, and like I said, Daisy Ridley's a very likable woman, to the most unlikable woman. Because Brie Larson is tantamount to verbal constipation. You have so much you want to say about her, but every time you do, you just you can't say it because you don't know how to articulate how much she annoys people. Now, if you don't know about Brie Larson, Marcus, I'm sure you know all about Brie Larson. She's what we like to call a social justice advocate. But the problem with her social justice advocacy is that she's advocating for things that are constantly either not things that are black and white or are things that are debunked on a routine basis, like my wage gap. You can watch the Shoe on Head videos. They'll tell you all about the wage gap. But when you look at Brie Larson, she is a very talented actress. But I don't know if that's enough to carry a Star Wars franchise, because the thing with the Star Wars franchise, Marcus, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, is that it was maligned with so much just unnecessary add-ons over the last 5 years that it's really harmed the franchise perception to the point where we are 3 months away, not even, from the next Star Wars film, and you wouldn't know it. I remember when Force Awakens came out, it was this running clock. The only thing I can remember that was anywhere close to it, Marcus, was when the Cleveland Browns left and became the Baltimore Ravens. And then the NFL announced that the Browns would come back in 1999. We had a countdown clock in the middle of Cleveland, Ohio, counting down like 500 days to the point we got to the Browns again. And this, with Force Awakens, was the closest thing I'd ever seen to that. But after Rian Johnson ruined the franchise with his god-awful fucking Last Jedi flick, it's just, I don't know if there's any hype for this anymore or any hope anymore. And now you're saying that Brie Larson, the most just suffocating human being in all of entertainment, is going to be leading the franchise from here on out. Like, dude, give me Rosie Perez. Give me Denzel Washington's just 14th cousin on his mother's side. Like, give me the person who fitted Leonardo DiCaprio for the Man in the Iron Mask. Give me anyone but her. Anyone. I would even love George Bush Jr. That'd be hilarious. That would be fucking hilarious. Marcus,
Batman again over that.
What's that?
I'll take Clooney's Batman over that.
Oh, whoa. Let's not get crazy here. Like, I think we can all agree. It goes the Holocaust and George Clooney's Batman. Two worst decisions in the history of humandom.
Hilarious.
And depending on the day, you can make a case for one or the other. That's a joke. Calm your tits. Obviously, Clooney's Batman was worse. I'm kidding. I make no light of the Holocaust. It was a terrible event. And slightly lower than that on the terrible list was Clooney's Batman. And this, right below Clooney's Batman. Like, this ain't Holocaust bad, but, like, it's bad. Marcus, words! No longer
just,
have them.
I just think it's and just randomly popped up in my head. You would I find it hilarious that of all the crap, because we're gonna get off more into Joker, because they're just refusing to let this film breathe. All of the hell and turmoil and trials and tribulations that DC has been through. And it's the legendary franchise of Star Wars that's now in the shitter, while DC is slowly but surely rebuilding itself without having to do a complete another reboot that people were calling for, not even 4 years ago? So
they were calling for it. They were calling for it in instances right after Dawn of Justice, but it really, really took hold after Justice League. But then you had Shazam and Aquaman, and now Wonder Woman 2 is getting all this hype. So there's a lot of hope for the DC universe. Frankly, I don't care about the universe or fan perception because I love so many of those films, and I'm going to continue to watch them because they're good.
Yeah.
I will fight a bitch that wants to challenge me on Dawn of Justice. I will. I'll straight rock a homie. I was going to say homie G, but like that made no sense. I'm going to straight rock a bitch in the face. I'm a rock aware. So, don't even. But when you think of the Star Wars franchise, like this is the worst week ever for Star Wars. George Lucas came out and said that he didn't say it, but Bob Iger, head of Disney, did. That George Lucas hated Star Wars, the last two films, or last whatever films. He saw Force Awakens and he hated it. Then Bob Iger said that George Lucas sent Disney originally 3 scripts with the idea that they would use these scripts. They did not use these scripts. And then he was so upset that they didn't use the scripts and that he was so pissed off. They're like, well, we'll bring you on a consultant and you'll be able to tell us what you want to see changed, but we won't necessarily let you change it just because you want to. But you can tell us that you want it changed. And, all right, so he's basically a Twitter troll then. That's cool. And then you think about the fact that Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, spent like 6 months telling anyone who would listen, hey, this ain't Luke, this ain't my Luke, this ain't your Luke, this Luke sucks. And then he had to walk it back because Disney's like, all right, we'll give you like $12 million for the next role. Just shut the fuck up already, Mark.
It was so bad. He was trying his best to promote the movie, but he couldn't hold it.
I'm starting to think that the idea that Harrison Ford didn't want to come back for more roles as more turns as Han Solo is a lie. I think what it was, Marcus, is he saw how bad the script was. He's like, kill me. And they're like, oh, you want to straighten you off? No, I mean kill me. Harrison Ford, kill me now. This script is terrible. Mr. Ford, we're not going to kill you. We need you for Indiana Jones 5. Oh, God damn it. I'm not surprised that this franchise is tits up right now. I'm not surprised this franchise is so maligned in everything that they're doing. This is a bad fucking franchise right now. I thought Star Trek was in a really weird place for a long time, especially with the, we'll say, much maligned and not controversial, Marcus, polarized. That's the word I'm looking for. The much polarized Star Trek Discovery. But right now, I would put a lot more stock in Star Trek than I would in Star Wars. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Star Wars, what they've done is completely gone back and retconned everything that everybody's done for some type of newness. And the newness isn't even making sense. And then some of the stuff that they're trying to establish that's considered new, they're retconning that. So it's like they're really just, you know, Star Wars franchise as we know it to be this, kicking off from what episode 7 with Force Awakens, basically, Riverdale-ish at this point.
Riverdale's holy shit.
Like it's being written episode by episode, and oftentimes retconned within the episode. It's like a bad mix between like what happens before we see a 3-hour Raw and a Riverdale episode. It's bad. It's all bad.
And now, to kind of frame this properly, it should be noted that that's how the first 3 films were done. They were done beat by beat by beat by 3 different directors. But George Lucas oversaw all the creative decisions between the 3 films. That's why you see a little bit of tonal differences between all 3 films. That's not to say that, New Hope, Return, or Empire Strikes Back are in any way, shape, or form bad. Because I honestly think that those 3 films are great on their own and intermingled. And that's the thing that the original trilogy did so well was they continued a story, but they also concluded a story. Like, we left the first film with them getting a medal for blowing up the fucking Death Star. Then in the second film, they're all, like, destroyed and, boundied about across the galaxy, and Han's nowhere to be seen. And then they finally decided to say, hey, fuck this noise. We're going to go to the Empire. And then, the prequels happened. But in hindsight, the prequels are masterpieces compared to these slogs. Now, the one thing I will say, Mark, is that I've always hated and will always hate about the prequels. I fucking hate all the goddamn CGI backgrounds for everything. And that's the one thing I'll praise the newer films for, the sequel series. Because these series, actually had practical effects. They shot it on location. They did as much actual physical set design as they could. And that, to me, I think is one of the more important aspects of Star Wars was all the practical effects and all the advancements in technology that it did, which is something that the prequels are just god-awful with. But when you look at these films, the last 2 specifically, plus the 2 spin-off films, even though they do have a great artistic styling, do you think that there's a chance that they could redeem the franchise, considering how... And I'll say this, I haven't seen Solo, and the Rogue One is actually really good. I like Rogue One. But, outside of that, do you think that the franchise can redeem itself?
I think it can. I just think, you kind of need a cooling off period, but that's not the popular thing to do. You kind of feel like you got to strike while the iron's hot, and people just kind of had this idea in their head that, even though it's a failing ship for something that has been beloved as Star Wars for so long, that people won't, there'll at least be some people left on the ship. Everybody won't, it won't be like the Titanic, but seemingly that's what it's become because, like you said, the movie's however many months away, and it's like it feels like Dark Phoenix had better press. That may be a stretch, but damn, if it kind of feels like that. So, I do think he redeemed himself, but it got that's a lot of stuff to go back and do, man. Like, you got the damn near, because you're either retreading characters that we've already gotten, coming up with completely new characters, but we still have to get these, the Kylo Rens and Reys out of our head, and Finn and all that. And I don't know if I'd be so gung ho to do it so soon. And I get, put Kevin Feige or somebody like that only gets a lot of people, I guess, instantly back on the train because he's basically just gonna do with Star Wars what he did with Marvel. I wouldn't call something like that early, because while that was a plan that they stretched over 10 years or whatever, that's not all good despite popular opinion.
Hmm.
So for me, I don't know if it'll be a mistake or not to give it a break because for some people be like, well, if you go on a break, you're gonna lose a lot of your audience because the amount of content that's being pushed out now between film and TV. You just don't have the gamble to risk losing the attention span of an audience that's stuck with something like that for so long. But it's like you also kind of need to give like a recovery period from this garbage that's basically been flipping your fandom off and running them away. So I don't know what the happy medium with that is.
I don't know either, and you kind of nailed it on that head. A lot of the new characters are bad, and that's not me being some homophobic, racist, misogynistic prick. I really liked the ideas behind a lot of these characters. Not so much Rey. Rey was kind of just a weird, like, oh, she's female Luke. Okay. But, like, a deserting stormtrooper, that's cool. A pilot on his own, I'm just going off of the Force Awakens ideas, but like the enemy, surrounding or a singular pilot, and he's forced to get back to the Empire. The grandson of Darth Vader. Like these are cool ideas, and with all that they gave Finn, or that they were gonna give Finn, they ended up just not doing anything with him, and like they had like the first like 20 minutes of Force Awakens is brilliant. They have this great sequence where this random ass Obi-Wan Kenobi looking motherfucker gets mowed down by, excuse me, these gangster ass stormtroopers, and one of them starts hyperventilating, and he doesn't know which way is up, and he's freaking out, and then Phasma walks in and orders him to put his helmet back on, and he complies. Like there's some real fucking douchebaggery there with her being this like really badass, really just Nazi like drill sergeant. He needs to get away. And then how does he get his comeuppance? Oh, he throws her in a trash compactor for gags. There's no emotional weight there. And then they turn him into a fucking joke in the sequel. He's walking around in this giant water condom. And then he tries to desert? Like, what? Like, way to make the guy a giant wuss. And then when you finally have a moment where you could do something unique and exciting, and you have this moment where Finn could sacrifice himself in order to, save his friends and family, which would have been a very huge moment in the Star Wars franchise, because you've never actually seen that before. You end up getting this situation where they decide just to do some dumb shit with Rose, where she's like, killing yourself's not going to save us, dummy. Love will. All right, cool. Make out with me as our friends get eviscerated by this giant laser cannon. No, this is absolutely the appropriate time to do that, Rose.
Where did you get that line from? Sailor Moon? Gee.
Right? Like, Jesus Christ, Sailor douchebag. Sailor, annoying. And I know this is the obligatory part. Rose's actress is actually... No, she's a terrible actress, too. I don't know why she was cast. The whole film was fucking garbage. And then Poe, the only good character in the new franchise, was basically, maligned by a bunch of feminists because they're like, Poe was somebody who he didn't want to listen to the women. Why didn't he just listen? Such a bad fucking shoehorn, force-fed, believe all women bullshit. Like, what is this nonsense? Oh, she's got a plan that ends up not working. Woohoo! Good job, purple-haired Laura Dern. Like, did you realize that? Her entire plan, like, I had a plan all along. And Leia's like, oh, Laura Dern, you. And then, like, half the fleet still gets destroyed because of Laura Dern's stupidity. Maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should actually listen to the plan next time. Like, maybe you shouldn't hide it because it's a terrible fucking plan.
It's not about who had the better plan, Chad. It's about who was talking. And it was a woman that was talking, and even more so was a woman that was in charge. That trumps logical battle strategy.
All I'm going to say is, if Laura Dern was like some vice admiral or whatever the fuck she was called in the movie. And she actually earned that position. The rebellion sucks. The resistance is terrible. And the third film in this franchise should just be Kylo and company just, raw dogging the rest of the resistance. Just like, stop hating yourself, stop hating yourself, stop hating yourself, stop hating yourself. Because they're terrible people who don't know what they're doing. They deserve to lose this war.
Yeah, I mean, and while I appreciated the elegance of her, what basically jumped the ship into another ship, she basically warped her ship into another ship, which was cool. But we do have to backtrack and look at how did we get here, and why was this extreme measure necessary?
Why didn't they just, I don't know, make a better movie? And why wasn't that like the first idea? Like, all right, you're all gonna go into these little shuttles, and I'm gonna warp into these other ships. Like, it'll fuck them up. You get you a chance to get away. It was terrible. It was so bad. It was just a movie with a bottle episode. That's all it was. It was one location. What the fuck? Oh my god. And now they want to add Brie Larson to this disaster fest? No thank you. Sign me up. I'm now leaving this train. What else is on here? Battlestar reboot? Let's go. Star Wars is dead. R.I.P. I don't care. This franchise is fucking terrible.
It's all bad. Apparently they're not necessarily moving forward immediately with a sequel to Captain Marvel, which, yay, somebody came up with a good idea. But we all know that those actors never sign one-picture deals.
Nope.
So this very much feels like a holdover where we got to do something with her. I mean, we got to strike while the iron's hot. She has a lot of buzz around her, negative or otherwise. And she just came off of a movie that made $1 million, so obviously it was damn near a masterpiece. So, $1 billion, so obviously it was a masterpiece. So we need to kind of strike while the iron's hot, and by that I mean, since we're not going to use her, that Marvel contract, we need to find something to do with her.
I think let's have
her infringe on another franchise.
I think the thing that really irks me is there's clearly, assuming this rumor is true, there's clearly people in Disney who would rather push a narrative than listen to fans. Because here's the thing. I know a lot of liberals, 2 of them are talking right now, who are so done with this agenda-pushing bullshit in our entertainment. We get it. You're all about the female empowerment. Nevertheless, do you even bring up the fact that women are more likely to go to college than ever before compared to men? Men are being left back in high school because teachers are not giving them adequate time to help them pass learning disabilities. Let's ignore those, and let's just talk about the wage gap, which isn't even a one-to-one comparison when we're talking about careers. Because, 2 of the highest fucking earners in all of music are women. The highest are women. I don't even think there's a dude in the top 10, truthfully. But we got to worry about the wage gap. We got to worry about women not going to STEM fields. We got to worry about women not in politics. So that's why we're going to have fucking this nonsense. I want people to just be good to one another. That's not a hard thing to do. We don't need to push one above the other. You don't need to prop yourself up by holding down the head of another. Let us all interlock our arms and march forward in kumbaya. That's it. That's all we got to do. Kumbaya, this bitch.
Maybe we could look forward to that Sandlot reboot that's supposed to be happening.
Well, isn't it a sequel?
Yeah, you're right. It might be a sequel because they're bringing back some of
the OG cast.
Well, they're definitely bringing it back. Great Hambino. So
I am all for that. I'm also all for the third Ghostbusters film. Let's do that shit. I'm all for a lot of things, just not Brie Larson.